Hello, friend, and welcome to Borgcast 1.17, original series for the last episode for a while. And we have a little bit of previously on about shore leave. Robert Moneypenny said Theodore Sturgeon was a very prolific 20th century sci-fi author. What is it with big name authors writing incredibly bizarre TV episodes? Well,
I know.
Shore leave certainly was. And also gave us Sturgeon's Law, the observation that 90% of everything is crap.
Yeah.
Which is a bit harsh, I kind of feeling.
Well, it depends what you mean by everything, I suppose.
I wouldn't say 90% of cheese is crap, but there we go.
Or real ale.
Or real ale, indeed. So, I'm not sure it stands for everything, but there we go. Unless it's just talking, everything generally in the universe, in which case I'm not sure I could comment on that.
Well, isn't it that most atoms are like nothing? And
I would
no
agree
space is blank?
Maybe. That's not crap, though, is it?
No.
It's empty. I would say 90% of television is crap, personally, but,
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Possibly more.
Well, no, because I
Less
think...
so now that there's more Trek on, but,
Well, no, because I think most people, whatever they like, there's more on telly that they don't like than they do. Does that make sense? So I think for anybody, whatever their interests are in telly, most of telly is crap.
Yeah, but it's that weird thing, and we're already off the topic here, aren't we? Never
Sorry.
mind. It's flow of consciousness thing. But a number of people I visit in my job, and I do a lot of visiting, just leave the telly on all day long. And while you're there, they might turn the volume down if you're lucky, but it's still there. And I just can't, just crap. And at the moment, a lot of it is just CNN and blooming BBC News Channel. Why? Why would you do that?
I know why for people who live alone.
Ah, right, that might be it.
Because
at one time you had the radio on for company, and I guess it's the telly now.
It's now the telly. It makes you not feel so alone and so isolated in your own home.
See, I'm just somebody who likes quiet, so that's just...
But you also very much don't live alone with a house full of pets and people.
No, I am never alone in this house, even when there are no people here, so yes. Anyway, that's way off where we're supposed to be heading tonight, which is the Squire of Gothos.
Oh, God.
That gives you some idea of Amru's opinion already. Written by Paul Schneider, who also wrote Balance of Terror, and will go on to pen an episode of the animated series. It was originally written as an anti-war tale, though that gets rather lost.
It does a bit.
There's occasional military things referred to, but yeah. Directed by Don McDougall. Where's your trousers? It's his only Trek. He had a long directing career, including Mission Impossible. Same studio, wasn't it? A very closely related Mission Impossible to Star Trek.
Yes, because Nimoy was in it.
Is that Mission Impossible?
Yeah, he was in one series.
Yes, and then he got bored of it, didn't he? Because he was playing the same sort of role again and again.
Oh, it was very repetitive. I mean, I loved it.
The A-Team's repetitive. But...
Oh, no, that's nothing compared to Mission Impossible. I mean, I loved it as a kid. And then
isn't it one of those things that, and again, we're off topic again.
Sorry, there'll be a lot of that.
It feels like we haven't podcasted for ages, but it was last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
We've just lost the plot completely.
We have. No, that's right. We did a movie commentary last week, didn't we? More of that later. What was I saying? I've lost my track.
You lost your track of thought.
Trek of thought, yeah. That's what we're doing. It's Trek of thought. I was talking about Mission Impossible and how the movies are nothing like the TV series.
Yep.
I just, I couldn't get on with the first movie, and I don't think I've watched any of the others anyway. But
I think it's number 4 is supposed to be good.
Well, anyway, it's Tom Cruise.
Yeah. No, but with Mission
back
Impossible...
to tonight's Trek
right,
episode.
sorry,
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, so I'm not going to do a whole beat-by-beat plot beat because fuck that. But I am going to mention the teaser in particular because of the rant that this one went on.
Me?
Yes, because it starts with they've all got coffee cups like they're drinking out of Cafe Nero.
Outrageous.
And he's like, they've got no coasters. And I'm like, fucking hell.
Think of the marks they're leaving on those very expensive consoles. And then the slightest jolt, and let's face it, Enterprise has been known to be jolted about quite a bit, and you've got coffee all over your controls and all things going bzz, 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 and you've hit warp 10 before you know it.
He was complaining about the lack of cup holders.
Cup holders, that's what the Enterprise needs. Seatbelts and cup holders.
And they might leave a ring on the console.
Yeah, well, you don't want that, do you? Disgraceful.
Yes.
Particularly Navigator de Sal, by the way, who will return in 2 more episodes, changing division in the process. Although that's obviously not a problem because both Worf and Geordi did it in Next Generation. But yes, he puts his cup of drink right on his instrument panel and he's like sort of staring over it to see the instruments. It's like, that can't be right, surely.
I have to admit, at one point, he had his cup next to where his hand was moving over controls. And I'm so used. The number of glasses you and me have smashed playing Dominion.
Yeah.
Because we put the glass too close where we had to move our hand. And then it was like,
Plonk, smash.
Smash. Yeah. Yes, we got through a lot of
Well,
glasses.
they ain't smashing those styrofoam cups. I see they're back in again, are they?
Yeah, Cafe Nero cups. Anyway, enough of the cup shit. Basically, they're going into a star desert and there's the whole Wild West. Oh, it's the desert. And Spock's like, what the fuck? And I'm with Spock. Anyway, and then suddenly, Kirk and Sulu disappear. Oh, no. And that's your teaser. And although Coffee Cup Gate meant I missed a lot of what went on other than fucking coffee cups and rings and fanar, that is a good teaser. That's like how to your audience has just tuned in for an initial bit. 2 key characters have just disappeared for no reason, and now you've got your adverts and your opening credits. That's gonna latch people on. That's how you write a teaser.
Good stuff.
So, it's you have a Spock doing the captain's log on, in lieu of Captain Kirk, and they're orbiting this lone, unreported planet, and Kirk and Sulu are there, and it's like, oh no, everyone's going, oh, why can't we just beam down or whatever? And Spock is like, okay, Mr. Geophys man, you tell me what the conditions are like on that planet. He's like, well, it's toxic and it's really hot and it's not conducive to life and there's no vegetation. He's like, yeah, so this would be why I haven't beamed you down.
That's Mr. Jaeger, that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Played by, he's supposed to be German, but he's played by Richard Carlyle, who's Canadian. But never mind, he gives it a good stab.
Oh, is that why later on they
you
do
get
the
the
goose
whole
stop? Yeah.
German salutes and stuff. Yes, that's what they're drawing from there, and a bit of German as well. But we'll get to that.
No, there was German in there. I recognised that. I'm like, where the fuck is that coming from? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's because he's German. Jaeger, come on, that's your clue, isn't it?
Well, yeah, except and I realise they do. De Salle is a French origin name, but there's an awful lot of German origin names in the US.
You are right. Yes.
Because so many people went there as Jews, including a load of Germanic Jews, and they then
Not just that, but quite a few Protestants as well.
Oh, and Germans as well.
Yeah.
As in, no. Let me phrase this another way. There were lots of Germans that went there, but I think they all went to the same bit of America.
Yeah, there was sort of enclaves and stuff. Yeah,
And then
the deer hunter's fascinating. For
yeah.
that, isn't it? Yeah.
And then there are, in addition to them,
We're going off topic again.
Germanic Jews
Going off topic
who could have come from
again.
Austria or Switzerland.
Will we ever get to the point? I never know.
No, because I had such a fucking frustrating day at work. I wanted to throw my computer out the window.
You had a frustrating day.
You can't talk about your day.
No.
Which was more stressful than frustrating.
But anyway, let's not dwell on that.
No, whereas I can talk about mine because it just involved my computer and people can relate to
Yes.
computer freezing, Outlook crashing, and you're on the phone to someone talking about an email that you now can no longer read because your whole fucking screen's gone black. Anyway, the other big problem with this for me, which is why I'm not doing a beat-by-beat plot line, is this is Q.
This is basically, yes, Proto-Q. And interestingly, later novelisation, possibly by Peter David, might be misremembering, sorry if that's the case, actually made the Squire of Gothos a Q.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And the difficulty for me with this is that I've seen John Delancey play Q, and for all the fact that his character is frustrating, he is also charming.
Yes, which this character lacks because he's supposed to be childlike, so therefore he can't be charming. That's the thing, because he's an adult that's behaving like a child, and that's just irritating.
Yeah.
He's played by William Campbell. We'll be back in season 2 of Star Trek, the original series, and Deep Space Nine as Koloff.
Really?
Yes, this is Koloff.
Wow, I thought I vaguely recognised him.
Yeah, he would go on to write a well-known Making of Trek book.
So the guy can act, so it's the writing.
Oh, yeah. Well, but no, you see, what my point was that he is acting irritated because that's what the part calls for.
Fine.
He's perfect, but you're not supposed to like this character, so you're not going to.
Yeah. No, fine.
I think he's really good. I mean, he's sort of jovial with that edge of threat when needed, as well as being, nails down the blackboard irritating. He apparently wasn't the director's original choice, though. He wanted to go with Roddy McDowall.
Really?
Yeah, I would struggle to recognise that.
Yes. Snap.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we ended up with the right person for the job.
Fair enough. So I'm not doing beat by beat plot because I can't be asked.
It's a shame that we're back. As soon as they're on the planet, we're back clearly on a set.
It's really obviously a set, isn't it?
I mean, it had the luxury of location shooting in Shore Leave.
Yeah.
Compared to this, where you can see the backdrop, and it's like, that might as well be blooming play school.
Yeah, it's
and
not.
They've tried with a castle, but even that doesn't look that real,
No,
does
it doesn't. So there's all sorts of crap going on that I don't care about.
There's a salt vampire in the castle.
I was about to come to
Sorry,
that. That was something I did care about, which was the salt vampire. And you get the fact that Kirk and Sulu are there and they're frozen, and then he unfreezes them. You even get the clicking of the fingers at certain points.
I mean, Roddenberry.
Yeah, he's clearly nicked this poor guy's idea, hasn't he? I don't like the unnecessary harpsichord playing. The stained glass windows are clearly felt tip pen on cardboard done by lacklustre Art Minbari.
Yeah.
What I did like, though, was the idea that the reason he'd set this all up and that he'd taken them as, I don't know, amusement, playmates, whatever, is that it was 900 light years away, and so by accident he'd looked 900 years into the past. I did kind of like
in
that.
In the midst of all the craziness, there is a drop of science, isn't there?
Yes, I quite liked it.
Yeah, and they do keep to that throughout. So it's of a period with duelling and whatnot.
Yeah,
so,
I quite like that. And then,
although having said that, he knows. Does he know about the Second World War? No, not necessarily. Don't know how long the German language, because I mean originally Germany, like ourselves, was lots of different states, wasn't it? And I would suspect that the time he was looking back in, it would have been, but they might still have been speaking sort of what we recognise as German. So,
well, yes, they wouldn't have necessarily. They wouldn't have been unified by a language in the same way as you get the Bavarian dialect compared to Hochdeutsch.
But that thing you said, that German phrase, "Eins, zwei, drei, vier," whatever the rest of it is, which translates as "go with me with a rifle." Would rifles have been a thing? Pistols, okay.
Yeah.
But would rifles? I don't know. Anyway, but yeah. You're nitpicking at this point on that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, and I like that as an aspect. But one of the things that annoyed me, and maybe this reflects the science of the 1960s, I don't know, but he talks about humans as one of the few predator species that prey on itself. And I'm like, hello, have you not heard of black widow spiders? And in fact, there's quite a lot of spiders that are predatory species, and then the female might eat the male as a tasty snack while still actively mating with him. So because there's those. You've also got other species that are cannibalistic. There was a two-headed king snake that hatched in captivity, or possibly born, because some snakes live birth, I'm not sure which, and it ate itself.
Since when did we become a David Attenborough series here?
It annoys me when something set in the future has less knowledge than now.
Well, but it was written in the past. So
yeah, so no, I'm just questioning. Is it? What I'm asking is this bad research?
Or did they actually think that back then?
Yeah, I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, it's like for a long while it was like, oh no, homosexuality, that's only something that humans do, and it's like, practically every animal species it's present in, actually.
Yeah.
So, sorry, not as unnatural as you thought.
No. So, I don't know. Maybe they did think that at the time. But we know now that's not the case. And as I gave Black Widow Spider as a famous example that most people will have heard of, but there are many others. So, it annoys me. It drops me out of it. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, this isn't the future. Fuck off. You're an idiot. Anyway, so you get the thing where Kirk realises that... lost the plot here. Bear with me. Yeah, so the Squire is like, oh no, you need me to demonstrate my authority, outside these, outside my atmosphere of kindly influence, whatever. You're like, what the fuck is going on? But it kind of makes it clear that, for want of a better word, they're in a bubble. Yeah,
because the atmosphere of the planet is unbreathable, but because they beam down with masks on, but they don't need them because he's created this bubble.
And then I like the dialogue between Scotty and Spock on the Enterprise, where it's like, we're just going to beam them up. Like, who would beam up? Any life form. Fine. Isn't that shooting in the dark? And Spock's like, isn't that better than doing nothing? And I like that because, on the one hand, the argument is yes, it's something positive to do. But on the other hand, well, potentially, actually, Scotty's right, because potentially that's a terrible idea, and you could be beaming up some kind of hideous beast that's going to eat the entire crew if all you're going to do is beam up anything with a life sign. So I found that interesting as dialogue between the two of them, and obviously Spock's in commands that he says it, but it's just a good question, I thought, that Scotty asked. So they've made the sensors operable by diverting power, and obviously in the future that'll become a big thing, but have we had this much before in original series? Diverting all power to the sensors?
I'm not sure. That's an interesting question. I certainly can't remember it coming up before, but that's not to say it hasn't. Be a quite difficult one to Google, I think, but, you know.
But my point is it's not a trope at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, it becomes kind of an integral part of not just Federation ships, to be honest, but generally Star Trek ships is this idea that sometimes you divert power to the engines, sometimes the shields, and many a computer gamers use that as a playing engine, effectively. So yeah, interesting.
But I just noticed it and I thought, I'm not sure that's happened before. It's logical. They've done it. Now they can beat them up. That's
are they
great.
transpopulating? That's a word, transpopulating.
Yeah. That
from any technology of the time? I don't think they are particularly. I don't think particularly we do that now either. I think it is very much a sort of future thing, this idea that, you know, you've got this resource of energy and you can move it to various areas. I can't think of any sort of modern, ships.
You might be able to divert a bit, but I don't think you can divert all. This is diverting all, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something we do in cars, for instance.
No, or even like
you want a bit
warships,
more speed, so you turn your lights down. I mean, that's not
Yeah,
the way it works,
yeah,
is it?
Yeah.
Turn the stereo down. I can go faster.
Yeah, exactly. I can go faster if I don't listen to music. What? I don't know. Turn the sat-nav off. The car will be warmer. I don't know. I mean, I noticed it, and I think I noticed it because I wasn't aware of it having.
Oh, the one that actually now and here I get my electric car hat on.
All right.
Because if you switch the heating on in an electric car, at least in a Nissan Leaf anyway, that reduces your mileage because you're actually using some of the power that would be used in your electric engine in order to heat, because obviously a normal car works to heat you up because it produces ridiculous amounts of heat that goes to waste, but you can divert some of that heat into the heating you up in the winter. But an electric car doesn't have that because it doesn't create that useless heat, except for the fact, of course, it's not completely useless because in the winter, therefore, you have to divert some of your power in order to keep you warm. So there you are. It is a thing. We have learned something today.
Yes. Okay. Wow.
But drive electric cars, they're cool.
Yes. Right. And they don't cause people to die.
Well, not so much.
Of air pollution.
Yes.
We live in an area where a child died as a result of air pollution. So, anyway, sorry about that diversion, but it struck me, that it was
a thing. Good.
Yes.
Let us move on.
Right. We move on, I'm afraid, to the very bad things. Because we move on to the whole
sexism of the week.
Well, not just that, but massive racism. Because
against Spock. Yeah.
No, not just
Uhura.
that. Yeah, massively. So you have women.
Ooh. But again, that does kind of work in context because he's been looking at Earth in the past.
Yeah.
And Kirk at one point says, these are integral parts of our crew.
Yeah.
So for a change,
yes,
actually, Kirk and indeed Starfleet's coming across as slightly less sexist than usual.
Yeah. But So yeah, he is racist against Spock. And he's like, is your species predatory? And I love Spock's response. Well, not generally, but there have been exceptions with a raised eyebrow. Like, I could eat you, fucker. But then you get Uhura in front of the harpsichord, and he calls her a Nubian.
Check this shit. You got cracker farm boy Luke Skywalker, Nazi poster boy, blonde hair, blue eyes. And then you got Darth Vader, the blackest brother in the galaxy, Nubian god.
What's a Nubian?
Shut the fuck up.
Now that's fine because
that's a whole thing from.
No, I'll come on into it in a minute.
Mallrats. As soon as you said Nubian, my brain goes to Mallrats.
Well, because Nubia was the relevant empire encompassing, for example, what we now call Ethiopia.
Yes, I know that, but it's a joke in Mallrats.
Fine. but bear with me because there's a point I'm making here. And for like years, it was an empire in its own right. But he then says, I presume you've taken her on a conquest.
Yes.
He automatically assumes that because she's black, she's a slave.
Yeah, but again, he's been looking in the past, so therefore that's what he would assume, because that's what happened. So it works. I mean, it's uncomfortable. It's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Horrible.
It is, but it's not. It's not the same as, you know, a member of Starfleet saying that. I mean, it's not the same as, for instance, the Cage with all the Orion stuff. I mean, that is really, dodgy. Oh yes, Pike, I'm sure you want to become a slave trader, and he's like, yeah, I might be cool with that. It's like, what? What the fuck?
Except he says you must have taken her on a conquest. She's a Nubian, but I think it's the Assyrian. I could get this wrong. There was an empire operating. It certainly had either an emperor or a king. I forget the right term. Please forgive me. And it existed right up until World War One.
Oh yes, they do about this in school now. And they didn't in my day, so this was all new to me the other day. They were talking about the history curriculum, and I'm afraid to say I can't remember the name of it. But yes, they do this whole thing about this particular empire in one of the African countries. And I mean, obviously, where we live is a very multicultural area, so this is really speaking to.
Yeah.
I was really impressed, but yeah, sadly I can't remember it.
Well, I think I'm happy to be corrected. I think it's Assyria, which encompasses modern-day Ethiopia, Eritrea, and possibly somewhere else as well. But it's that part of Africa, and it was an empire, very, very well-developed, very advanced civilization.
Which we actually hobbled when we invaded.
Right, but a very advanced civilization at that point in time. And in fact, its borders corresponded at least roughly with Roman Nubia. So if Uhura was Nubian, she would be a free citizen and not a slave.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
Basically my notes end with, come my little wood nymph, fuck off. And then it's your go, and I'm just going to drink beer and be cross.
Yes, so as well as Uhura being sent down, we also have Yeoman Teresa Ross, who's played by Venita Wolf, who's another actor from The Flying Nun. That's a series that keeps coming up bizarrely. I don't know
Isn't
what the theme tune was.
Flying Nun a chip shop?
It is, yes. I don't know why that's a thing, but the Flying Nun must be a phrase outside of this TV series in America. And I'm going to have to look into what the theme tune to that is now. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it's a good one.
Who knows? Anyway, Trelane starts dancing with Ross as Uhura is suddenly able to play the harpsichord. And she seems to enjoy it as well.
I like that.
It's
We know she's musical, don't we, from other episodes?
That's true, although apparently she couldn't play the harpsichord before just now. I mean, this is probably something Nichelle Nichols was having fun with doing, because let's face it, most episodes up till now, she's literally just been seeing Hidden Freaks the Open. So, great for her to have something extra to do. Apparently the food and drink has no taste. Welcome to the Harvester. Oh, sorry.
Have you ever been to a harvester before? There was that one, wasn't there, in Falconwood, where our previous church kept going and getting food poisoning.
Yes.
Allegedly.
This is, sort of 15 years ago now, so I'm sure they've improved, okay? So don't sue us. Anyway. Spock surmises that this is because Trelane lacks knowledge. Kirk jumps to the conclusion the Squire has a machine which performs his miracles for him. That is a bit of a jump.
That's a massive fucking jump.
Why a machine? Anyway.
I mean, I get that he realises the mirror's important, but it's a fucking massive leap.
Yeah, Kirk starts giving the Squire some jip and pretends to be jealous of his attentions towards Ross. At least I hope he's acting that up anyway. Although later on he does pull a real face when she's gone off to get changed, and it's like, oh, Shanna. The captain challenges Trelane to a duel, thinking he might win, which is surely unlikely. As it turns out, Trelane doesn't play by the rules and insists on getting a shot off first. It's like, my turn. No, that's not the way it works. Although he shoots up in the air, so it doesn't matter. You expected some of the ceiling to hit him in the head, but I've seen too many comedies at this point. Of course, the bullet would have come straight down and hit him in the noggin, but there we are. He tempts Kirk into shooting, who instead takes out the mirror, leading to a lot of Swanee whistle playing for some reason.
Oh, God.
It's like comedy sound effect time. It's like a Tom Baker episode of Doctor Who.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And with the sets as well. That castle and, this is real, really, could totally have come out of 70s
It's kind of
Doctor
Brain and
Who.
Morbius, isn't it? But anyway,
Isn't it?
this reveals Trelane's machine, which is now broken. The Squire threatens them and then disappears. The Enterprise leaves with haste, but there's still 15 minutes of episode left, so they aren't out of the woods. Sure enough, they almost collide with Gothos multiple times. Kirk beams down alone, giving Spock orders to wait, then leave without him if needs be. He finds himself on trial. Well, this is rather familiar, is it not? Kirk on the captain on trial with a superior being. In character at Farpoint, anybody?
Yeah, with the whole judge thing and, yeah.
In this take, Trelane is dressed as a British judge, complete with a wig, which apparently was something Campbell asked for, and Shatner complained about the time they took to find this wig. Is that really? The shadow of a noose is behind Kirk, which is nicely lit, so I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But it's not very subtle.
No, nothing about this episode is subtle at all.
No. He calls on Trelane to vent his anger on him alone. Trelane declares him guilty. The Squire then rejoices at having felt rage. Where's the fun in just hanging me? Kirk asks and suggests an actual duel, and Trelane suggests a hunt. In return for freeing his ship, Kirk offers to provide a hunt to remember.
Make this a hunt to remember.
No, it isn't. But anyway, there's a pursuit across the woodland set. Not a very long one, obviously. And Kirk disarms Trelane, taking his sword, only for the Squire to disappear. Kirk then tries treating Trelane as a child, only for the voice of his mother to be heard.
Oh, you'd been playing out too long. You've got to come in.
Provided by Barbara Babcock, who will get on-screen parts later in the series. And crops up a lot in TV, including in Taxi and Cheers.
Taxi?
Hey! Oh, yes, she's in Taxi. We then hear his father, whose voice is provided by Bart LaRue, as a name, who will provide various future voices, including the Guardian of Forever, and both in the original series and Discovery, of course. They got him back. Trelane is called home and blubs because he was winning, before fading out. Kirk gets an apology from the parents, which is something of a cop-out. It's hard to beat an all-powerful foe, and this is about the only way they can think of doing it, isn't it? So there you go.
All-powerful, yes.
All-powerful. I am all-powerful.
All-powerful pose. Parents go, yeah, our son's shit, sorry.
For our comedy ending, Kirk suggests Spock was an equally naughty boy, dipping girls' pigtails in inkwells. Inkwells in the 23rd century, apparently.
I didn't have them.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not young, and I didn't fucking
I
have
am old
inkwells.
enough for the desks we had at school to have the holes for inkwells. They never had inkwells in them. So, but by the 23rd century, they somehow come back in again. Wow. And Nimoy's incredulous reaction says it all, to be honest. Practically every episode of the original series ends really naffly, have you noticed? I'd forgotten this was a thing, but practically every episode you just wince, don't you?
It's worse than the whole man-at-arms moral.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It's up there, yeah.
Oh.
So, it's an okay episode, but we have yet another super powerful alien. So we've had Charlie X, we've had Balok, we've had Gary Mitchell, and this is just going to carry on being a thing. It's just a Star Trek thing. And of course, yes, this is obviously the proto-Q, isn't it?
And the thing is, if I'd seen this and I'd not seen Next Gen, I probably would think much more favourably of this episode. Mm-hmm. But all the time I wanted it to be John Delancey and it wasn't. And or Picard and it wasn't. And I just got cross and frustrated. And then there was horrible, heinous things in it as well. And it was shit.
Although, at least some of the secondary characters get some good things to do. So Sulu,
this is true.
And Uhura. So, it's not all bad, but it's
mostly bad.
It's middling, I think, really.
Right. I would say it's probably middling if you can put aside your positive experiences of John Delancey as Q in Next Gen. I wasn't able to do that. If you can't do that, it's bollocks. We've heard from Boss, who writes, "This episode started off with something that troubled me deeply. The bridge crew were all drinking what I was assuming was from coffee from open cups they balanced on their instrument
You
panels.
see, it's a thing.
Uhura even had one placed precariously above the communications station.
Oh, I hadn't seen it. Oh, my heavens.
All it would have taken was a little space turbulence and the instruments would have been ruined. It was a health and safety nightmare, and I was suspect it would have been left to the lower decks to clean the mess up. That turned out to be the greatest peril the crew was in during this entire episode. For most of the time they spent imprisoned by Squire Trelane, they just had to eat tasteless food, drink tasteless brandy, listen to tasteless music, all the while be mildly menaced by a tasteless... alcohol. All the while be... try again, beer. All while being mildly menaced by a tastelessly dressed man.
It's quite a tongue twister there. Well done, boss.
Yeah, you wrote that deliberately, didn't you? Because you knew I'd have had beer.
Mildly menaced.
The Omen got worst of it as usual. Towards the end of the episode, before the very silly fight scene, I did start to get interested in how they might resolve the situation. Most good Star Trek episodes put the crew in a difficult position that they have to find a clever way out of. This was not one of those. Finding out that this all-powerful being was just a naughty little boy who ended up being sent to bed was not a satisfying conclusion.
And I swear they do this with Q in one episode.
Yeah,
as well.
there is.
The rest of the continuum turn up and tell him off, and it's like, Roddenberry, stop recycling this stuff.
And he says, I suspect when they invented the character of Kiefer TNG, they watched this and thought they could do this idea so much better. They did keep the court scene, though.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so much recycled, isn't there?
Yeah.
Thank you, boss.
Thank you. But please, no more tongue twisters. Either that or somehow make it that he has to read it out.
Oh, well, that's not generally going to happen. We heard from Doreen.
I watched Squire of Gothos. Must be about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago now. The day after your last podcast was out, I think. I didn't record straight afterwards because I didn't know what to say, and I've been trying to persuade myself to watch it again so that I could feed back, because I can't quite remember what happened. But I have still not managed to rewatch it. But I've looked up a sort of summary, and the bit that I did sort of enjoy and thought was a little bit original was when Captain Kirk figured out that the mirror was giving the Squire powers, etc., and shot it rather than the guy was daring Captain Kirk to shoot him and had his eyes closed and so on. However, I wasn't overly impressed with it at all. It seems a bit of a sort of goes nowhere, does nothing episode, but as you said, it was like a precursor to Q episodes. I guess that I'm incorrect there. But I seriously did not like the whiny wee boy at the end. And it was just, I don't know, just such a letdown, really. Anyway, sorry to be a downer on this episode. But thank you for the podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, you don't have to apologise. It's not much of a resolution. It's just,
No.
Parents turn up and tell you. It's a bit like, a Dalek Doctor Who story where Davros turns up, tells all the Daleks off, and they go home,
Yeah. It is a poor resolution, and that's not your fault. That's the writer's fault.
Yes.
What did the Llama God make of this?
I'm good looks, got the fixia tree I'm not giving away my shot. I think the thing that this episode proves to me the most is that I've really got to be in the right frame of mind when I sit down to watch some of these episodes of the original series. I suppose the same is true of most television, but it definitely seems to affect more my viewing of these episodes, because I've certainly enjoyed some of these episodes more than others, and especially when I come to listen to the feedback. And I think sometimes I'm just in the mood for some of these things to wash me by, but when I sat down to watch the Squire of Gothos, maybe it's also because of, possible other external factors influencing this, but yeah, I really wasn't a particular fan of this one, and I don't know if that's just me or whether it's the episode, so definitely be keen to find out what other people make of this this at the end. Maybe it's because this episode uses what is now a familiar trope, and maybe I've just seen what this episode does done better in the future. I don't know. It's very hard to say. It's hard to come at this one from a fresh perspective, given that I've actually watched a lot of Star Trek and science fiction since. So I guess it's just not fair for me to judge it in terms of uniqueness at any rate. I've just got to see how the story goes, and yeah, I guess it passes the time, doesn't it? The episode certainly starts with a bit of wish fulfillment as George Takei vanishes from the bridge of the Enterprise. I was half expecting this episode to be centred around Captain Kirk finding some sort of magic lamp or something that made all of William Shatner's wishes come true, but yeah, apparently not. No, instead they've been taken away, and the landing party has to beam down wearing masks before entering a secluded location where none of the food tastes. I mean, come on, could you just not? Could you please stop with these things? We know what's going on with the world. We don't need that many reminders. Thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to the episode from the 1960s that tells us things are going to be great any minute now. Any minute now. That'd be nice, please. But yeah, they soon meet Trelane the twat, and Trelane really is probably the weak point of this episode, really, because yeah, he's just giant twat, isn't he? There's not a lot more you can say about that. He is the ultimate incel, really. He is a little boy who thinks he's the god of war. He's obsessed with war and fighting. He idolizes war and violence, but it turns out really he's just living in essentially his parents' basement, and he is not the god of war. He's just a naughty boy. In some respects, that's quite a neat little twist on the old, what was I say? Is it old? Was this fresh at the time? I don't know. But on the old trope of super powerful aliens gods threatening the crew of the Enterprise to test them, to learn something, to show their superiority or something. In this case, no, it's just because the kid was bored. So that's a nice little undercutting at the end, and I do quite enjoy that one. But as I say, the real problem with the episode is Trelane. I don't think it's so much the acting, it's just the way that he's written, and potentially because of what we've seen since is that he really does come across as something of a pound shop Q, really, unfortunately. In terms of mischievous, superpowered beings, Q is a lot more entertaining, and unfortunately that's kind of who I was comparing to throughout the episode, and it's not fair, but I was, and Trelane didn't compare favourably, unfortunately, which is kind of ironic considering I think in one of the spin-off novels we discover that Trelane is actually Q's kid, and he was one of those parents maybe or something. I don't know. Hopefully someone else will be able to fill all these details in, because I just don't want to go and look it up right now. I don't need that. So yeah, we get to see the Enterprise crew dancing around at his whims until he gets taken off to bed, and yeah, I guess this is a kind of storyline I think we're going to see more in the future, and this one is, yeah, I guess it's well enough done, I suppose. It probably does also suffer a little from the fact that it comes hot on the heels of a previous episode in which the crew of the Enterprise was similarly found themselves in a scenario that they couldn't quite escape from, and in which reality was seemingly manipulated magically before their eyes. So yeah, maybe it's just a bit too familiar as well, and I'm not saying necessarily that surely it was a great episode either. It's just seeing the same thing 2 episodes in the trot is possibly a little bit wearing. I don't know. Of course, this episode doesn't skimp when it comes to featuring lechery either, the sadly predictable way in which Trelane gets excited about the fact that the fairest sex are on board the Enterprise. If you could say this was the 1960s, but yeah, that's exactly the way that a basement-dwelling incel would speak anyway, so it's still relevant today. Although the fact that on the Enterprise, when Yeoman Ross has to get changed out of her fancy period costume, Kirk gives himself the opportunity to lecture up and down once or twice before he actually allows her to go off the bridge to get changed. Yeah, that's not a great look. That's not great, Kirk. Not well done at all. Yeah, thanks. And the whole premise of Trelane having an old-fashioned view of Earth culture, because he's watching basically light travelling from Earth from over 900 light years, so it's from 900 years in the past. That makes sense, but surely if he's able to watch that far into space, he might have seen other things as they come closer to him, so he would have seen more recent events at a closer distance. So I don't know, maybe the focus is just on Earth and he hasn't bothered looking anywhere else, so yeah, maybe that's the issue. Still a bit strange though. You'd have thought that some sort of artefact from the more present day would have crossed his vision once or twice, but yeah, oh well. So yeah, generally not particularly enthused with this one. There was definite potential, but just there was something either fell flat in the execution, or it's just me. I don't know. So yes, I will certainly be interested to hear what other people make of this. I hope that everyone else is staying safe in these times. I think that's what I can probably wish for this week. And until next time, at which point we'll be discussing episodes that are nothing like these ones, given that they won't feature a godlike entity that's manipulating the crew of the air. Oh, bugger. Oh, really? Anyway, yes, until that, glory to you and your cast.
Yeah, we have to time this well, haven't we? Q Squared. I just googled it.
Oh right.
Is the Peter, I was right. Peter David novel that has, the Squire of Gothos being a member of the Q Continuum.
It does make sense. Mm. And what is the one, or have you not had time to Google it, where Q gets disciplined by the Continuum?
That I haven't time.
Doesn't he end up naked?
Yeah, that's right. He gets reduced to being a human, doesn't he?
Yes. And then he tries on the
third season one, isn't it?
Q-Who? Or is that the one?
No,
with
Q-Who's the one with the Borg, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Oh, I know. It's too many silly titles as well. Which doesn't
to
help,
be fair,
yeah.
Yes, a lot.
But I'm pretty sure it's the third season one where he gets made into a human, and Data kind of takes pity on him.
Yeah, but then that would be very Data, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I don't think you're out of step on anybody so far. Anyway, I think most of us are slightly disappointed with this one. Doesn't help that obviously, they did this better later, but
yeah,
and he is a giant nit. Yeah,
but when you say he's the ultimate incel, actually, the moment you described him, my brain automatically went to a Red Dwarf Rimmer place.
Yeah.
In terms of somebody who's playing at being military and all the rest of it, but not actually capable / very childlike / complete incel. Isn't that Rimmer?
Yeah,
Really?
it is Rimmer as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But I hadn't seen the connection before Llama mentioned it. But it is.
And yeah, the ending is unfortunately rather similar to Shore Leave, in as much as it is a giant cop out. Yes, it's Deja Q, by the way. The season 3. I haven't managed to Google that now, so yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Alrighty. Next up, we have Drew and Tracy. Drew and Tracy.
So we just watched Squire of Gothos.
Yes.
And what did we think of that one then?
Back to the classic episodes.
Oh gosh, this was nuts.
Yeah, I guess so.
It was just weird.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go through some points. So we had Trelane.
Trelane, yeah.
The nutcase.
Well, maybe. He's young, wasn't he?
He was young. Well, he didn't look young, but at the end of it, you kind of realise that he's just a child almost.
Yes, that was like the twist at the end.
Orson.
Yes.
That was too much like Morecambe Mindy for me.
You know who was the male voice?
Who?
It's Scotty. James Doohan.
Is
Yeah,
it?
he does that voice, yes.
I just wanted to say, Gothos calling Orson. Come in, Orson. It was just the same. But he got a ticking off.
He did get a ticking off.
At the end, you've been bad.
Yep.
So when they first beamed down, they didn't know what kind of hospitable planet they were going to.
Well, they scanned it, hadn't
they? Didn't take a lot of oxygen, though, to be
had
fair.
a little mask on, didn't they?
They had like a 10 centimetre square box of oxygen, which they didn't know if they'd have to share with Kirk and Sulu when they got down there. So
that's a fair enough point.
That was just a bit crazy.
Yep.
And then when they got into the, I'm going to call it the palace.
Yeah, like the castle.
Yeah, the castle.
Yeah.
And like Kirk and Sulu were standing frozen.
Yeah.
Kirk was blinking.
I said it's only a program, is it? It's only a program.
Yeah, but you know, Sulu was like really like.
Sulu's got the acting chops.
Yeah, he was like frozen.
Kirk obviously hasn't. We like when they was all drinking coffee in the bridge at the beginning, wasn't it?
I'm sure if you like froze that and zoomed in on the thing, it's going to say like Tetra Pak on the bottom of the cup. But they did. I said to you, how do you know it's coffee?
Well, I don't know. It might be an Earl Grey tea.
It might have been brandy.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're in the castle, we're going to say.
Yep.
And they've met Trelane. And they're trying to kind of work out how they're going to like defeat him and stuff like that. And you've got, I can't even remember his name, but it's the Frenchy guy.
The French guy, yeah. Can't remember his name.
So he decides to kind of sneak up on him with a phaser in front of a fucking 6-foot mirror.
Yeah, I know, he's laughing as it's quite obvious what he was doing.
I can see you.
Exactly.
That was just nuts. Spock's objections.
Yeah, Spock's good in this, isn't it?
I object to that.
He's good in this. Spock's very good.
He was very good.
It's good in being in command as well.
Yeah, there was no wavering. It's like, this is the shit going down. You can fuck right off.
Definitely.
So when they got back onto the ship,
yes,
and Yeoman was still in her ooh la la
in the dress,
outfit.
Yeah.
She was doing that just for Kirk, and then Kirk could not take his eyeballs off her chesties.
He was definitely looking.
Dirty boy.
Trelane, yeah, he's an interesting character, isn't he?
Yeah.
So you know who he has been retconned to be like a person of.
Not Liberace, then.
No, not Liberace.
Who?
Well, who do you remind you of? No one in a future.
Oh, you put me on the spot now.
Yep.
Don't shame me. Go on.
Oh, your judge, all-powerful being.
Q.
Q, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, can you see that?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he's
only
not
because
one of
he's
the
like
Q.
so extravergant and.
It kind of makes sense, doesn't
bit.
it, that he could be like a child Q.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really like this episode. I think, if I think of classic Star Trek, this is probably the episode that I think of.
Really?
Yep.
There was a bit of. We have to point out there was a little bit of misspelling or mispronunciation of Jaeger.
Jaeger, yes.
Jaeger.
Well,
so...
McCoy called him Jaeger. He's obviously spelt with a J, but pronounced Jaeger,
Jaeger
isn't
is
it?
a car, isn't it?
Jaeger, isn't it? Like Jaeger.
Yeah, but Jaeger is a car.
Mm.
Yeah.
I just have to say one thing at the end when Kirk said about dipping girls' curls in ink.
I know, it's an awful bit, wasn't it?
Where the fuck do you come from?
Yep. But yeah, I really, really like this episode. I think it's great. I know he's a bit bored in the middle,
Are
isn't
you
he?
shitting me?
No, I think it's
Seriously?
great. Yeah, it's a good episode.
Fucking alright. I was just a bit like, this
I know
is
he's
crazy.
a bit bored. Oh, it's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Anyway, shall we leave it there?
Okie
I've got
dokie.
nothing more to say.
Yep.
Take it easy, guys. See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Tracy on fire this week.
Yes, we are absolutely with you, Tracy. Are you shitting me? Yeah. And when you said in your feedback, oh God, at the same time, in unison, we just said, oh God, it was just, yeah. Yes. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Drew.
Yes. But it's Bart LaRue, not James Doohan. According to Memory Alpha, anyway, which is usually fairly accurate because loads of us nerds, something inaccurate goes up, loads of us nerds piling out. No, that's not it, right? Anyway, I think this is a better example of Spock in command than maybe the Galileo 7.
Just a tad.
Yeah, just slightly.
Just a teensy bit, yes. But then I guess you could argue he learnt from Galileo 7.
He's moved on.
Because he does explain himself, doesn't he? When they're questioning his decision about why he doesn't beam down, he turns to the geologist and says, "Tell me about this place. Use your geophysical knowledge." Then he's like, "Yeah. So how long will they survive exactly?" And everybody just shuts up. So he has learned. He understands that people sometimes need to understand why they have orders, even though they ought to technically obey anyway. Oh, we've heard from Purry. What does Purry think?
Hello, Args. Purry here to talk about the Squire of Gothos. Yeah, we run into another godlike being, but this is actually probably one of the better godlike being episodes. So yeah, we do obviously have a prototype of Q here, and indeed there's been quite a lot of tie-in fiction which has put Trelane in as a member of the Q continuum. But I mean, the difference here is, I quite like the idea that he kind of set himself up Napoleonically because he's been watching Earth, but hadn't taken into account the light distance. Just a nice little bit of physics there, and you might think, well, he's really advanced, surely you'd know that. But as we find out at the end, he's a child, and so it's a sort of childish mistake. I like the way the crew are, aside from LaSalle, who seems constantly keen to ready to try and wall up Trelane. I like the way the crew in general, and one of the things Kirk says is that they have to think their way out of it. Now, we still do end up with a fight, a big, him being chased through the unconvincing woods with a sword, and that sort of thing. But I think there's a good point where they realise quite early on that they're physically outmatched and that they're not going to be able to fight their way out of it. They're having to outsmart Trelane, and I think it works out quite well. Trelane himself is really well acted. I was quite pleased that he never got too creepy with the woman. After Charlie X, you're expecting the yeoman who gets beamed down and given the sort of fancy outfit, you're expecting it to get quite creepy with her, which it didn't, which I'm kind of pleased with. Uhura gets something to do, even though it's just play the harpsichord, but it's something. And yeah, it just, in general, I think you get... What I liked about the actor's performance was it becomes more childlike, particularly in the eyes and the expressions as we go. Particularly when you're watching it once you know he's a child rather than a sort of fully grown adult. You start seeing it more so when Kirk's down on his own and he's suggesting things, and there's a sort of childlike eagerness, but also when Kirk's being sort of insulting or challenging him, there's just a kind of a childlike eagerness to his look, which I think worked really well. And of course there's some good direction when the glowy lights that are his parents appear. They suddenly go for a very high angle on Trelane, as if he's been looked down upon, and he does suddenly, obviously he plays it up a lot more then with the phrasing. He starts speaking in a much more childlike way than he has been previously. But I thought the shooting did what they wanted it to, and I think the actor portrayed it as well. And again, first time round to the twist that he was actually a child, and basically, the absolute snootiness of the parents who are, well, if you're not going to take care of your pets, you can't have any. And I'm very sorry, he's a child, and we do indulge him somewhat. So I mean, I've run into parents, so many parents like that, whose kids been running riot. They go, oh, I'm very sorry, he's just high spirited. It's a nice twist. I think it's a better take on the godlike. Again, you could draw a parallel with Charlie X, with the way Charlie said, "No, please let me stay" at the end. But this is more so not a child who's going back to something horrible, just but I was having fun. And I think it means that you don't get that sort of dark impact. It's not quite as dark an ending, which means you can have the chortling, the sort of arc winding. So yeah, overall, it's very much godlike being of the week fare, but quite well done. I thought there were some quite good details in it. And yeah, I enjoyed it, kept me occupied. So yeah, good stuff. So I'll be back next time to talk about Picard, probably. Yeah, in fact, it'll be Picard next time, so I'll be back to talk about Picard, hopefully. But all that remains for me to say is do keep up the good work. I also look forward to the podcast, and I'll join you again next time. But until then, bye for now.
Bye. Yeah, it is. We've all met them annoying parents, haven't we? We're just like, oh, sorry, he's a bit high-spirited. No, actually, you're not parenting, are you? You're just sitting on your arse and letting him do whatever the fuck he wants, rather than being actively involved in your child who's clearly desperate for your attention.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably the most positive about the episode that anybody's been. I do agree that William Campbell does a really good performance, and that way he gets more childlike towards the end as well, is really good. But yeah, your mileage is going to vary on how irritating you ultimately find him as a character.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think Drew liked it the most.
Oh yes, we had the classic, didn't we? So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think many people agreed with Drew. Sorry, Drew.
Well, there we go. It doesn't matter. If you enjoy it, and that's cool.
True. If you enjoy it, that's good. We all need things we enjoy.
Are we going to enjoy season 2 of Picard? Well, we're about to find out, because next Thursday we'll be recording, covering the first episode of season 2, which is, I believe, called Stargazer. 2 words. So it's almost a play on words, vaguely. But obviously also a reference to his first ship, which I think may be making an appearance. If spoilers all over the internet has got anything to say about it.
I've muted the word Picard.
I didn't. It's one thing when you get spoilers from people having watched it in the United States like a day before you can, but it's quite another for people spoiling it the day before that at a press thing that a certain group of people were invited to in the United States. That's even more bloody elitist. Sorry, I've got no time for that at all. But anyway, we will not be spoiling anything to do with Picard. We shall take it each episode at a time. You've got almost a week to let us know what you think of it, because in the UK anyway, you're able to legally watch it tomorrow. And feel free anywhere else in the world that's got to see it to let us know what you think of it as well. And yeah, we shall see how season 2. We literally just finished to rewatch season 1.
Yep.
Which I think. It was interesting to go back, and I also listened back to our podcast as well. It sort of started with like, what the heck's this series? Then it settled down, and then it really started enjoying it. And then
there was the
ending
end.
was like, oh, you went there, did you?
Yeah.
So here's hoping they land the ending this time, eh?
Yeah.
But already I have picked up a few very positive views about how the season starts, so that sounds hopeful.
Well, we'll see. It's very alternate universe-y, which
may or may not work. But we shall see. Giving it a chance.
I tend to be against them, but I actually genuinely loved the Discovery Mirror Universe.
What's making me laugh is the cosplayers already having kittens about the fact that they're making the uniforms even more intricate than Discovery. It's like, why do you hate us so much? And the answer is, of course, they just want to sell the official produced uniforms rather than
stick
have people
with lower
create
decks. Them. That's what we've got.
Yeah,
it's lower
easier.
Decks. I haven't quite
low definition is the way forward for cosplay.
Yeah, I haven't got the boots sorted yet, but I've got a plan because
We've got pips now and everything.
Yeah, we've got pips. Thank you, Andy. And Colin, I think. I just need to sort the boots. I think because I'm cosplaying medical, I need to...
You need white Ugg boots, that's your problem.
Yeah. If push comes to shove, the next time we go to a convention, I'm just going to fucking buy some white wellies and colour them in with blue pen. But I'm hoping to find some better boots than that.
Right. Well, there we go. All that is a very long way, winded way of saying that we'll join you in a week's time. Shocking, I know, on this feed. A week's time. As we cover the first episode of Season 2, Picard, Stargazer.
Yay!
See you then. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
The opening music for this podcast was provided by the talented Drew Barker.
The artwork was created by Andy Palastides.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
And we have a YouTube channel as well.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or borgcastammo. #Borgcast.
Shut it down!
Fucking alright.